just happy as a clam today because Joe Heschmeyer and Chris Check are here, and it's time for Flannel Panel, where we talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, thank you for being here.
Cy, thank you for having me. You left at the part where we wear flannel shirts, or some of us do.
Yes, you're right. I did leave it. We wear flannel shirts and talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. And it's a very fine, it looks like a new flannel shirt.
No,
I feel like you're
this has
showing
been in the
off.
inventory for a while.
Oh, has it really?
I do have a new one,
Yeah.
which I guess I'll break out next time.
Okay. All right. And Joe Heschmeyer, apologist here at Catholic Answers, and the proprietor of Shameless Popery, his fantastic podcast, not wearing a flannel today, but I personally am excusing him from that. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. It felt like extraneous circumstances since tomorrow is Halloween.
And just for
That's tomorrow?
Joe has
no, that's not tomorrow.
the day after.
Oh, sorry. 2
Halloween's
days from-
Friday.
This is the last.
This is
the
Joe.
last
Don't
time
worry
before-
I haven't carved my
Yeah,
pumpkin
exactly.
yet.
Joe knows
It's mischief night. Mischief night.
Joe knows the names of
If
all
you're-
the cardinals at the Second Lateran Council, but he doesn't know what day Halloween is.
I so rarely know. Halloween seems like the one day I should know when it is because we go way too big for Halloween. My wife is always like, "Don't spend money we don't have for Halloween stuff." And the kids are like, "Do it," and it's a democracy.
I feel like I've complained
not a
about
democracy.
this on the flannel panel before, but
right.
my neighborhood is one of those that is
Is overdone?
the inflatables, and they come up on October 1st.
Yeah.
It's as if, Nathaniel and I were trying to sort this out in our imaginations. It's as if there's an advent for Halloween.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Halloween
nuts.
is-
Right. That's
Well,
right.
so every evening.
But why does this make you mad? You seem mad about it.
Well,
Like-
because Halloween is one day.
Yes.
And it's a fun day where
Yeah.
it's a little spooky and it's fun and the veil's a little thinner. I'm all for that stuff.
Yeah.
But then the next day is All Saints Day and it's over. But there's no period of preparation.
Oh,
and
yes.
it's
Yes, there is. I like sometimes. Are you ever like? It's like it feels like the 4th of July just happened, and then you wander into a store and you're like, Halloween? What are you talking about? Halloween? You got to be kidding. But Joe, you overdo it, huh?
Well, yes, I do, objectively, but also subjectively if you're married to me. My wife is always like, you don't need 2 costumes as an adult who's not going to dress up. That sort of thing. Like, that's those
You
kind
have
of
to
things.
have
There's a
one
lot of-
responsible adult in a marriage. That's the rule.
It's true.
You got to
It's
have
true.
one
And
responsible
unfortunately,
adult.
she is that for everything. So,
So you've abdicated, in other words.
Exactly, basically. Now, there's other things where I'm like, we don't need to spend money on, clothes for the kids, right? Unless they're costumes. But apparently that's also bad news. That's just what it is.
We have a neighbor that completely overdid Halloween, and my wife and I were like, let's get a piece of like black crepe paper and just cut out a black cat, stick that on our front door, and be like, we decorated for Halloween. Because that's how the people used to do it when we were kids.
Well, I like carving.
You'd get
I like
paper and you'd cut out a pumpkin and you'd stick it on your door and you'd be like, Happy Halloween, everybody.
I like carving the pumpkins. I like to do that. Where you carve the scary face in the pumpkin.
Yeah, I'm so bad at it.
I'm great at it.
They always look like, what was that movie that Mel Gibson did? The guy.
Signs.
No, never mind. I won't remember it. So forget.
Road
I don't-
Warrior.
No, stop. Just stop. We're not gonna.
What women want.
Can you play Mel Gibson saying hello to me, please? Whenever they start
Hello,
on the Mel
Si.
Gibson
Hello,
thing.
Si.
like-
Hi, Si.
There we go. There's Mel Gibson saying hi to me.
I do want to maybe a silver lining to this for people who don't know what to do with Halloween and you want to do something maybe more liturgically appropriate. Now, I think it's very clear. I'm very pro doing stuff for Halloween as long as it's not celebrating the demonic or something. But you can also do things like they just did at my kids' school today, which is you have a Saints Day parade and the kids dress up as saints. And, because this year All Saints Day is on Saturday. So this is a fun way for them to get to dress up.
I think
and
that's
it still
very
is in
nice.
a way that honors the saints. And there's a lot of good deep cuts because it turns out a lot of people choose saints that look like easy to make or buy Halloween costumes.
Yes, right. Like it will also serve as a Halloween costume.
Yeah, St. George gets a surprising amount of love.
Yeah. Right. All right. I want to start with a new segment. We're going to, Flannel Panel will from henceforth have a new segment. If this goes well, we'll see. And it's called Two Unrelated Facts. I have 2 unrelated facts. I'm going to say one of them. You respond to it however you want. And then I'll read the second fact, and we'll see if it in any way influences what you think about the first fact. 2 unrelated facts. Please, whatever your response is, whatever comes to mind, whatever you'd like to say, go ahead. Fact number 1 of our new segment, 2 unrelated facts. According to PBS NewsHour, my favorite TV show, the total cost of the 2024 presidential election spent by candidates, parties, and outsiders came to $5.5 billion. Anybody want to talk? Any responses to that?
I feel like we didn't get our money's worth.
It's pretty hard to get your money's worth if you spend $5.5 billion. But anything else?
Imagine if we'd spent another billion or so, we could have gotten
the
best candidates.
What do I get for $1 billion? Or how about $5 million?
I know. Joe, you nothing? How do you feel about it?
Well, I don't have a good frame of reference to know what that's compared to. I remember when Obama ran in 2008, people were shocked at how much money he was raising. And I bet if we were to go back and look now, we'd be like, oh, wow, that was not very much money compared to where we are now. So I feel like this is in the middle of this incredible political arms race. I guess if I were to make a political point, I would say probably not a good sign for a country that the executive branch is so important, so influential, that it makes sense for everyone involved to spend billions and billions of dollars on losing a presidential race.
It sounds like a desperate act on all of our parts.
It's,
like we've become desperate.
Yeah, so this is a barometer for how large politics loom in the imaginations of Americans. I think that's bad news.
Second part, this segment is called 2 Unrelated Facts. Fact 1 was, according to PBS NewsHour, the total cost of the 2024 presidential election was about $5.5 billion. Unrelated fact number 2, according to the National Retail Federation, their annual consumer survey, this year Americans are expected to spend $13.1 billion on Halloween.
Yes. If my wife
I
is
feel so much
it'll be
better.
down to like 12.9. we'll knock 0.2 billion off.
Go
of that.
America.
Yeah,
Yes.
$13.1 billion on Halloween. Good
All right,
Lord.
let me throw out some numbers for you.
That let me just to put that in perspective.
Yeah, please.
$13.1 billion is enough for California to build 1 train station. Okay,
Yes.
that's how much money that is. That's 1 train station.
Is this
not connected to a train
is this
line?
the
Just
light-
that build it out.
the high-speed rail
Yes,
train?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's estimates, and I think these estimates should be taken with several grains of salt, that the cost to end extreme poverty would be somewhere around $175 billion per year globally. And
Oh my gosh, that breaks your heart when you think about that. We spend
It's
that.
true.
We spend that on fighter jets. You know.
yeah, we
Like,
spend that almost exactly that amount on pets, 157 billion on pets. So I'm not naming anybody in this flannel panel, but I'm holding Chris personally responsible
People spend
for
a lot of money on Cavalier King Charles
Halloween.
Spaniels.
Well,
okay.
I just got to push back a little bit on that. I find the word pets offensive. It's fur babies. I really,
Yes.
please don't use the word pets.
Now, I want to be
that
very clear
dehumanizes
that I'm
them.
not suggesting that we feed people the pets. I'm just saying if we spent less on pets, we would be able
I
to
don't
afford.
think that's the corollary
Okay.
there. That we should just start feeding. Hey, hot dogs, everybody.
that excessive enthusiasm for pets is going to segue nicely into one of our topics today.
It will.
One of my favorite things that Pope Francis ever did. Was,
Yes, pets aren't people.
was to say pets aren't people. It's just so.
And they don't belong in strollers. And
They don't
the
belong in
thing
a
is,
restaurant either.
Yeah.
Can we leave them outside?
They're buying more baby strollers in Korea, right? No, pet strollers than baby strollers.
Yeah. Do you ever get that feeling walking around your neighborhood, like you see the stroller coming and you're like, is this going to be a baby or a dog? Like, and you feel kind of almost overjoyed when it's a baby. Like, look, a baby in a baby stroller.
It's not good for a dog to ride around in a stroller. It's good for the dog to get him to walk. It's good for the dog to walk.
I kind of try to convince my kids that about humans as well. But
Yeah, it is.
Get out and walk, kids. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do any of your kids, or did this have, with any of your sons? Did you have? I had one that had this. I don't know. It's a mental defect. I don't know what you call it, but
Mental defect.
I don't
Let's
know.
get him to call in.
I'll have him call in. Yes, I only have 3 children. One of them is a boy, and I said him. I do not know what his problem was, but if you let him walk in the grocery store, he walked right in front of the cart at a half a mile an hour. It's like, dude, move to the side. Okay.
I gently hit my kids with strollers when it's
at least you're
you
gentle.
can have the conversation. But so we are adjacent to this beautiful boulevard where the sidewalks are like double wide. So you can actually walk with a double stroller or a single stroller, and a kid can walk next to you with no problem. And still, the thing you're describing happens where they walk directly in front of it
It's
there's room.
amazing.
There's a passing lane.
But
it's amazing.
It's because they're little and their brain is not developed. And then you go on a cruise and you realize that at a certain age, you start doing this again. There's an age, I don't know what that age is, but you start just stopping in front of people again. Where it's like, what are we doing right now?
Yes, I want people listening to hear us say, babies are great.
Babies
you
are
should
great.
have more babies, and babies are not very smart.
No.
These things are both true.
They're
and that's
difficult.
okay.
It is
Two
difficult.
unrelated facts.
Right, two unrelated facts. And that has been our first episode of Two Unrelated Facts. We'll be right back to talk about the news of the world from a Catholic perspective with Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, and me, Cy Kellett, your host, the Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. Catholic Answers Live will return in a moment.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Hi, this is Mike Aquilina with a few words about St. Cyprian. Cyprian was born to a rich family in Carthage, North Africa. As an adult, he converted to Christianity, and soon he was named bishop of his city. He led the church through a time of multiple crises, including persecution. He himself died a martyr.
Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. Chris Check, Joe Heschmeyer with us. I almost said in studio with us, but Joe is lacking propinquity today. He is all the way in the middle of the country. We're on the edge of the country.
On the cutting edge.
We're on the cutting edge. The Pacific Rim, as they call it out here. We're out here on the Pacific Rim. That always makes me feel like we're in someplace really important. Yeah, Pacific
Yes.
Pacific Rim.
I feel like I mostly hear about that with like volcanoes and such. Am I wrong about that? It
No,
feels like a geographic
that's called the
term.
fiery. Is it the fiery rim or you're and it does look like the Pacific Rim. It kind of looks like it follows.
Okay.
But
I thought
Yeah,
the Pacific
maybe
Rim
it's the fire.
was the other side of the Pacific from
The
where
Pacific
we are.
Ring of Fire.
Pacific Ring of Fire, it's called. No, I think we're on the Pacific Rim. I think everybody who's on the Pacific is on the Pacific Rim.
Okay.
I hope I didn't get that
This
wrong.
is great content. I just want to really
Wait, what's the definition of the word rim? That's what we'll spend the next half hour on.
Pacific Rim is it's a movie. That's what I came away with. I googled
about
it.
kaiju.
It's a movie.
Okay, I got a
yeah,
story
sure.
for you. Joe, I probably want you to go last on this one because I'm almost sure that Chris and I can have a great conversation on this, none of which will matter because you will give us the correct answer. As a lawyer and theologian, you will give us the correct answer after we've exhausted all the possibilities.
You give me my cue to come in. I will sit back and
then you'll just
patiently
flatten us with the truth once we've
we'll
struggled
find
our
out.
way through this story. Catholic statues, according to a headline in USA Today, thrust a Massachusetts city into a national religious liberty debate. Let me read a little bit of this article for you. I will tell you the name of Brianne J. Frank and Peter Blandino are the reporters on this story. And they say a showdown over Catholic statues on a public building in Massachusetts, in a Massachusetts city represents yet another fight in a national conversation about the separation of church and state. You can interrupt me anytime you want, but I'll go on until you do.
How big is this city?
Quincy? Oh, it's pretty big. It's just south of Boston, just south of Dorchester, where Marky Mark comes from. But it's a pretty big city.
100,000.
named after. Gosh, I don't know. I would think more than that, but I'm not sure.
And this is the
They got a great thrift
mayor
store.
who commissioned these statues. And
Yes.
purchased them with public funds, I gather.
That's exactly right. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch commissioned statues of St. Michael and St. Florian, the patron saints of police and firefighters, to adorn the new police headquarters. But more than a dozen residents,
This is an uprising.
It's crazy, are suing Koch, alleging, or Koch, I'm not sure exactly how he says it, alleging that the city is violating religious neutrality as outlined in the state Constitution, not the federal Constitution, I guess. A judge granted a preliminary injunction in mid-October, barring the statues from being installed as litigation continues. Go ahead.
Well, what does the Massachusetts state constitution say about religion? Because at one time it was illegal to be a Catholic in Massachusetts.
I think they're on their third constitution in Massachusetts, though. Like the original, they don't still have the original constitution.
There were no public Christmas trees for a time in the history of Massachusetts.
Oh, no, it was all about religious liberty. As long as you were an absolute puritanical English Christian, it was all about religious liberty. That's what Massachusetts was. We chose the statues of Michael and Florian to honor Quincy's first responders, not to promote any religion, Koch said. These figures are recognized symbols of courage and sacrifice in police and fire communities across the world. The Beckett Fund is defending him, and that's the organization that won the Hobby Lobby case, granting private employers the right to deny contraception coverage to employees because of their religious beliefs.
So there's a couple of analogs out here, Cy, in California. One I drove by on my way to Los Angeles on Friday to see a Warren Zevon tribute concert with my sons.
Have we ever done this show and he hasn't mentioned Warren Zevon?
In any case,
it
always
feels like
about
it's
lawyers, guns,
every
or money
time.
with this guy.
4 hours. It was great. It was great.
right.
But as you drive up to LA, on the right hand side, there's that big shopping mall, the Citadel.
A shocking
The
monstrosity.
Citadel, and it has about a dozen of these Assyrian
Gods or something.
Lanusu.
Is that what it's called? Lanusu?
Lanusus?
I don't know.
Is that how you say it?
I don't know, but they're very
They're
recognizable.
demons.
You can recognize them from the movie The Exorcist. I believe they're. So,
And there are no lawsuits.
oh no, well, I mean, it is private property, but I
Okay.
don't like
All
an
right, very
ancient
well.
Assyrian god who doesn't exist, or at best is a demon. Why would you get upset about that when you could get upset about the servants of God, Florian and Michael?
Other one I'm thinking of course, here is the Mount Soledad cross.
The cross, yeah.
That our friend Chuck Lemandry has been defending since
1492, I think. I don't know, a long time.
Since Junipero Serra put it there. But
That's a World War I monument.
they've
isn't it?
gotten around by saying it's a war memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
34 years. That's how long that
I
legal
think it's
battle
the
is.
Good Lord.
longest, one of the longest lawsuits. So that kind of defense may be effective here. But the bigger problem is this is a stupid thing to get upset about.
It strikes me both.
There's a whole country on their side of the Atlantic where there are lots of buildings with religious symbols on them.
Yes.
Yeah, and
A whole country, a whole continent.
Okay, but a couple things that I will say before Joe gives us the correct answer. I actually feel like this is the one where Joe is going to, despite the ridiculous Halloween shirt that he's wearing, he's a very highly educated person. He's both a lawyer and a theologian and a podcaster. So that's 3 enormous criteria or that he's got, 3 enormous qualifications that he's got. But a couple things. One, it does seem to me it's different if it's already there. Like the cross up on Soledad was there. It's a vestige of a time where people just didn't bother each other too much about this kind of stuff. But this is a new thing. This is a new installation. So I feel like that might be pertinent. But the second point seems to me like there's nothing like negative about Michael and Florian. It's not like the complaint. The complaint is entirely based on that the entrance of this building, people are going to have to look at an angel and a saint.
They're attractive statues, by the way.
Yeah, well, they're wonderful people, Michael and Florian. So I sometimes feel like I'm of 2 minds, and I'm going to be of 1 mind in a minute when Joe tells me the correct answer, but I'm of 2 minds. One, could we just maybe not make a big deal out of every little religious thing? Like, I feel like if this was, I don't know, Massasoit or somebody like the Indian Sechem or something, that would be okay. But somehow it's a Catholic thing and it's not okay. I feel like just a little bit of grace for each other. But also, I kind of do think they're going to win this case. And I think they're going to win this case because that's the law in the United States. That the way that we've understood the First Amendment's Establishment Clause is that you just don't use town money to put up a Catholic statue. All right, Joe, straighten us out.
It's messier than that. There was a famous / notorious Supreme Court case from 1989 called Allegheny County versus ACLU.
I was going to mention that, but then I forgot to go to law school.
Well, you know what? Let me just pose you the issue that's at hand. It's downtown Pittsburgh. There's on public property a nativity scene, a creche with Gloria in Excelsis Deo and an angel and all that. There's also an 18-foot public Hanukkah menorah placed just outside the city-county building, as well as a decorated Christmas tree and a sign saluting liberty. Nobody sues about the Christmas tree. I don't know why. Nobody sues about the sign saluting liberty. The menorah and the nativity scene are the object of lawsuits that go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Do you want to guess how the court found? And I will say it's a convoluted case where only 2 justices agreed with the outcome.
Oh man! So they had to get concurring opinions but not agreeing opinions in order to even have. I'm going to say, and I don't think this is entirely a guess. I feel like I remember some of this, Joe, that they're going to say it's not overtly religious. It's just a cultural thing, and so settle down. Yeah, the celebration of these. That I'm going to say Hanukkah and Christmas. These are embedded in the culture. This is the cultural thing we do. It's not an overtly religious thing. Leave them up. I don't.
That makes total sense. That makes total sense.
So that's not.
There were 4 justices who argued for that.
Okay.
Like, this is constitutional. Relax, everybody. However, that is not what the court came up with.
Okay.
The court it was a complicated thing because the 2 issues, is the nativity scene okay and is the menorah okay, were being litigated at the same time. They found the menorah was okay and the nativity scene was not.
Well, wait.
Yeah. They thought the menorah was more like the Christmas tree, a generic winter holiday sort of thing, which it blatantly is not. I mean, the menorah is a religious symbol.
It's not connected to a holiday, although you could kind of say it's connected to Hanukkah. You know, the festival.
Oh yeah,
lights
I mean, the menorah is connected to Hanukkah.
But it's not just connected. I mean, it's not like that you don't have the menorah the rest of the year.
But it's also a deeply religious symbol, right? Like,
sure.
It's
Yeah.
the temple lamp. So they said nativity scene bad.
Did Catholics have the same lawyers that we had in the sex abuse cases on this? Because I'm like, maybe our lawyers are just not good. Like maybe we.
No, the 2 justices who were swing votes, the 2 justices who agreed with the outcome were Blackmun and O'Connor. So make of that what you will, but Blackmun was the Roe v. Wade guy. O'Connor was notoriously wherever on everything.
Yeah, she was the middle vote for years.
Yeah, there were 3 justices who said neither were okay, 4 justices who said both are okay, and then the 2 deciding votes were the ones who said we're cool with the menorah but not the creche.
But why the creche is no more overtly religious than the menorah?
Yeah, I disagree with you. It is. But by the way, I agree with the 4 who said take a chill pill.
Yeah.
But I think that a compliment has been paid to Christianity here.
Okay.
By recognizing its singularity, and the depiction of the incarnation.
Yeah.
The single moment in human history that changes everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because it would seem that celebrating the birth of Jesus, from a secular standpoint, you wouldn't even have to be a Christian to say this was good for society, this built Western civilization,
sure.
etc. You could celebrate the birth of another figure. But the fact that Christ is so inseparable from Christianity, I think you're right in seeing that as a good thing.
Well,
like I hear these cases, and I think this Quincy case is going to go this way as well, where the response is this isn't overtly religious, and therefore we should be allowed to keep it up. And it's like, well, it should be overtly religious. Like we should.
It's an angel and a saint. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry. In the Quincy case, who paid for these displays?
The town of Quincy.
Oh. No. Excuse me. In the one that Joe was describing in Pittsburgh.
You know what? I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been too long
Or
since
these were
school.
private displays on public land, or because I'm also thinking in many there's that statue of Joan of Arc in Portland, and there's one
down in New Orleans.
In New Orleans,
Yeah.
and that's on public land.
But Joan of Arc is just a person too. Like, I mean, for some she would be.
Holy Name Society of Pittsburgh.
No, but she's a
puts
saint.
Grace
She's a
there.
canonized saint. And then actually where Joe lives, I don't know if it's back up yet or not, but that William Volker fountain that's of St. Martin de Tours in Kansas City, that's on public land, right?
We got a little bit more to talk about this one, and then we'll get to, hey, we're going back to National Public Radio. We haven't had any of their. Did you guys know they're still going? They are still going, and we've got some of their reporting to follow this story on Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live. We hope that one of the things that we communicate here at Catholic Answers Live is that our Catholic faith allows us to be fully serious about all the problems we encounter in the church and in the world, but it also lets us have light hearts and maybe even mix in a bit of fun, and that is exactly what our good friend Joe Heschmeyer does in his popular podcast, Shameless Popery. You should check it out at shamelessjoe.com. Joe's got a deep grasp of the faith, of morals, the teachings of the church, all that, but he's also got a witty conversational style. He entertains and he informs, but you will leave equipped to better answer the most common challenges, misconceptions, and questions about the Catholic faith. He's got insightful guests, he does on-air debates, and he takes a close look into all the things that you want to know about as a Catholic living today. You'll walk away knowledgeable and filled with joy. Look for Joe on his YouTube channel. Check him out at shamelessjoe.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, become a patron.
Throughout history, some Catholics have been among the worst kind of villains, right? Or were they? In Cancelled, historian Steve Weidenkopf digs into the lives and controversies of some of these Catholics whose reputations have been blackened, often unfairly. He takes on the anti-Catholic versions of history and defends not only these figures, but the faith they represent. Order your copy of Cancelled today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What is the Catholic Church? Everybody seems to have an opinion, but the church never quite fits into the boxes people try to make for it. In The Faith Unboxed, author Andrew Petiprin looks at some of the most common boxes people put the Catholic Church in and explains why they don't fit. In doing so, he brings us closer to what the church really is, the institution founded by Christ. Order The Faith Unboxed today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, our guests. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. It's Flannel Panel, where we talk about the news of the day from a Catholic perspective. We're talking now about a story in USA Today about the town of Quincy, Massachusetts, where the mayor has decided to erect statues of two Catholic saints, one an angel, one a human. Florian's a human, right? Florian's not a... Yeah, Florian's a human.
Yes, indeed.
To kind of...
Is he a Roman soldier?
I don't know about
I
Florian.
believe he is. He's one of the very early saints. I'm pretty sure he's Roman.
Okay, then, but the basic idea is that these are...
Actually, he's from Austria, then part of the Roman Empire. So if you want to call that Roman, you can, but...
It was big, the Roman Empire.
All right, important things being covered on this show today.
Patron saint of Poland? Go on.
Wait, Florian is the patron saint of Poland?
That's
patrons
why
of
that's why the Massachusetts
Is this
don't like
anti-Polish
it. It is
bigotry on the part of
That makes sense.
Massachusetts
The Irish.
atheists? Look, I just want to raise the other side of this for a moment. We do have to consider at some point that the government of the United States, or one of the governments of the United States, in this case, the government of a town, and this will be tried under the state constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we really shouldn't be imposing religion. I don't think that's... I don't want to say...
Let me push back on that a little bit.
I
I agree with the actual terms of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me make the point, and you push back, because I feel like we do want to be respectful of atheists. We don't want to be disrespectful of the person who doesn't believe in angels and saints. And we don't want to have a society where we're just like, suck it up, atheists. That's not
These
right.
statues don't do that. And when you say respectful of atheists, what do you mean? I mean, tolerant? I think you mean tolerant.
No, I think we should be respectful of it.
Well,
I mean, as not necessarily of atheism, but of the atheist person. We should have
okay,
respect
very
for them.
good. Yeah, sure. But that's it's a kind of it's not a dogmatic tolerance, but it's a sort of a practical tolerance. You like when a teacher is trying to explain the Pythagorean theorem to his geometry class, and that somebody's not getting it, and so you tolerate their ignorance.
But I would go even farther than that. I think
as you're bringing them along to something.
I want to live in a civil society with people who are not like me, and so I want to be civil to them.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but society has an end.
Yes.
Society has
salvation of souls.
It does. It does. Yeah, it does. So.
But that's not its only end. That's its ultimate end. But it has other ends, which, like providing people with a place where they can live in peace with one another.
I agree. I do think there's a kind of tolerance that you want to have of unbelievers or people in any kind of error.
Right.
But although if it's a criminal error, then no, you don't want that.
Right.
But I'm not certain these statues.
That they do that they offend.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't even like that word offend.
Well, I mean, there is such a thing as offense. But we use it to mean I feel offended,
right.
not I am offended.
Right.
And to be offended is very different than to feel offended.
The truth can't be offensive.
Explain that distinction.
Between feeling and being offended? Okay, someone could steal my wallet. They have offended me. If I don't know they stole my wallet, I don't feel offended by it, but they have offended me. Someone can hurt my feelings by saying Jesus is Lord, and I could say, that offends me. I feel offended by that. But that's not an offense. The person did not offend against me. So the feeling and the fact are two different things.
Yeah, if I tell you I'm going to pray for you and that offends you, that's actually your error, not mine.
But I would say go further. You did not offend me.
No, but
I felt offended.
No, but if you were, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
So I think we have to distinguish between the feeling of I take offense to the fact, because you can in fact offend against other people. So anyway, Joe, I feel sensitive to what Chris is saying, but I don't know where to draw the line. I don't know where is the line where I want to be civil to my fellow citizens.
Yes, I think the first thing to note here is people have been habituated because of these laws to imagine that they've got an offense against them that they otherwise might not be even upset about. So, for instance, you go to a post office in Italy and you'll find like a picture of Mary. I mean, literally, this is true. The police station had a picture of Mother Teresa in Rome. And no one is
Why were you in the police station in Rome? Do you want to share that story?
Great question for another day.
Okay.
No, I hadn't done all my paperwork. I had to go get something.
All right,
I
go
wasn't
ahead.
in any serious trouble. Great question though. But yeah, so you find this stuff as Chris alluded to earlier, all across Europe, and somehow people manage to survive even if they're not Christian.
Yeah.
That it doesn't, like you can be in a Muslim country and it has a dedication to a law on the flag, and you're not mortally wounded by that fact. So,
right.
The first thing is people are needlessly sensitive about this. And the people who get upset about it then try to do things that are intentionally provocative, like putting in Satanist statues. But honestly, if your reaction to seeing, even a religious display on public property is that it's like seeing Satan to you, that's demented. And I would suggest spiritually indicative of where you are. That if goodness is as bad to you as badness is to sane people, that's a problem. Second, these things aren't causing any real damage. I mean, that's kind of putting a bow on the point I just made, that no one is forcing your conscience to do something that it wasn't going to do otherwise. That's one of the ways you can quantify this. You have no right to be free from seeing Catholic displays. That's not a real thing. You do have a right to be free from religious coercion, of being coerced into saying you believe something you don't believe. Third, the state has had no problem doing things. Here in Kansas City, as beautiful of a town this is, there is a street painted rainbow for Pride Month, and another street covered with the names of BLM victims, or people who died at the hands of police brutality, allegedly. And those things were as annoying and aggravating to people who don't share those values as any picture of a saint would be. And the state is perfectly free to do that. To draw the line and saying you can put up the rainbow, but you can't put up the cross, is garbage. It's an arbitrary line drawing.
The state,
That's interesting.
The state
Right.
is not free to celebrate error.
Oh, that's fair. Actually, there is a deeper sense in which, as Quas Primus, Pius XI says, that the empire of our Redeemer embraces all men. And then he quotes Pope Leo XIII to say that his empire includes not only Catholic nations, not only baptized persons who, though of right belonging to the church, have been led astray by error, who have been cut off from her by schism, but also all those who are outside the Christian faith, so that truly the whole of mankind is subject to the power of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
That's what it means to say Christ is king, not just of my heart, but of the whole world.
Yes.
And then he says, Pius XI here, nor is there any difference in this matter between the individual and the state or the family, for all men, whether collectively or individually, are under the dominion of Christ. In him is the salvation of the individual, in him is the salvation of society. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there's no other name under heaven given to men whereby we must be saved. I think that's incredible.
Well, it's also true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess credible in that sense, but also incredible.
But
amazing.
so long as it's understood because I do worry about especially the young person who hasn't grasped the fullness of the church's teaching about the dignity of each person, and not their right to be in error, but because that's a silly way to think about life. But
right.
but everybody having a right to be respected in their person, not because we think all beliefs are the same, but sometimes I think there's a kind of a bullying that especially young people are attracted to. Like, well, you're in error, therefore we don't have to love you and care about you.
You idiot! We don't have bullying problems.
These statues do not. These statues don't even.
I got to call
I'm just kidding.
I'm going to human resources. You two continue this conversation. Where's Karen? Where's Karen? Where is she? Go ahead.
These statues do not constitute bullying in any way. It's not bullying to put these statues.
No,
up.
that wasn't my
no,
concern.
I understand.
My
I understood
concern
what
is
you
that-
meant by it, but there's objectively these are good statues.
Yes.
And by the way, they're like I say, they're attractive statues. So that's also good. But I'm just gonna repeat myself. It is reasonable for a polity to exercise a certain level of toleration of error as it tries to draw its citizens into the fullness of the truth, right? And that's utterly in accord with the quote from Quas Primus that Joe just read. In fact, there's no other way to interpret that quote. So yeah, obviously, in a religiously plural society, you're going to tolerate some error, but you're never going to say that error has right.
Right. I agree with you. Yeah, and it is good to be reminded that these statues are good. They are put up for a good purpose. They're perfectly reasonable. But I do also appreciate the line that you. I mean, I think there's lots of people that would deny that the flag, the rainbow flag, is a religious symbol. We did another day. We can talk about that because I think we would dispute that. It is clearly a counter religion to Christianity.
It seems completely arbitrary to call it. I mean, what do we mean by religious there? Because the Establishment Clause cases talk about establishing either religion or no religion. So if you put up something that is incompatible with religion, that is as much of an offense. In fact,
yes, that's right. That's
I
establishing
can't
a religion.
that in a way that you don't have any sort of moral reason. You can't be like, yeah, that Florian guy sounds like he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Like an atheist can be like, I'm not a Christian, but I respect Florian dying for his faith.
We have to take the break. When we come back to National Public Radio clips. We haven't done them for a while. Hang on. Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
The Catechism defines evangelization as the proclamation of Christ and his gospel by word and the testimony of life. But what does that look like in real life? It looks like St. Paul Street Evangelists out in the public square, sharing the good news. We're a Catholic nonprofit that starts conversations by handing out free sacramentals. Then we employ our method of listen, befriend, proclaim, and invite. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization. Visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
Mother Angelica had a simple goal when she began EWTN: to reach the world with the gospel message. You can enjoy EWTN live TV and radio streams, EWTN news, program schedules, prayers, and devotionals with the EWTN app. We've never wavered from our mandate to proclaim the truth and majesty of the Catholic faith. Thank you for joining EWTN in this mission.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live, National Public Radio, which I was told would utterly die if there was a cut in their funding. Seems to be doing just fine. They have discovered something that I feel like we discovered on this show years ago. But I don't want to come at this just by opening with my pride. That's probably a bad opening. But Darren, can you play clip 1 to tell us what worldwide important story that the National Public Radio is discovering this week?
Families are having far fewer children than in the past. This is true in many countries around the world. It's true in the United States, where the birth rate last year hit an all-time low. It's true in China, where the population has begun declining even after a one-child policy ended. So what does this mean for the world? NPR is launching a new series this morning called Population Shift. NPR's Brian Mann gets us started by looking at how this development is challenging basic ideas about capitalism.
It was going great there until we got to the last sentence. We were like, what? How about the survival of the human race? But Chris, you brought this. You were aware of this well before I was, and you brought this story. What struck you about the fact that NPR is doing this?
I'm wondering why they're suddenly addressing it now, because as you observed, there have been people, social historians, I think of my friend Alan Carlson, for example, who have been debunking, Paul Ehrlich, was that his name?
Ehrlich, yeah.
Paul Ehrlich.
Yeah, population bomb.
Yeah, for the longest time.
The New York Times did it to debunk it. I mean, I hate to say this, but NPR, welcome to the club, but the New York Times debunked Paul Ehrlich, I think it was about 10 years ago, with a really significant bit of reporting.
Yeah, but even in my professional lifetime or post-Marine Corps lifetime, there was a guy named McGibbon, I think, Bill McGibbon, who wrote a book called Only One. So I would say in the last 20 years especially, maybe you're seeing people who otherwise would have been, it's good that we're not having babies because it's bad for the environment, suddenly, or not suddenly, but maybe slowly becoming concerned about this. But I was struck by what they describe it as, a population shift.
You shift.
This is not a shift. This is a collapse.
Yeah, right.
It's an implosion.
Right.
It's a demographic winter, which is what folks have been calling it. And outside of something miraculous, it appears to be irreversible. The other thing, I have so much to say about this.
Good.
It's funny that this has implications for capitalism. It does.
I know.
It also has implications for Marxism too. Any economic system that views human persons as resources, as we call them, right?
Without the transcendent view of the person, just
right.
the
purpose of which is
this, by the way, is why we don't have a human resources department, for amongst other reasons.
Otherwise, I would have filed a complaint against you. I just want you to know that if we had one.
Yeah. So human persons, in fact, were not designed by God to service the bottom line, whether your economic system is Marxist or capitalist. They both make that same kind of homo economicus error, right? Economic man. And I haven't heard them all yet. The one on Finland today was of interest because it shows that no matter how much you throw in terms of government incentives and money at the problem, it's not really moving the needle. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the last segment will be, well, we need immigration, but the difficulty there is once immigrants come to the nations of Western society, they quickly take on the bad habits. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, I think you've said that for every single one of your points. Yes, you can.
One of the most influential men in modern history, and nobody knows his name, John Rock, the Irishman who invented the hormonal
birth control, right?
Yeah, the hormonal contraceptive. Irish Catholic. And actually, I think he was actually, at first, when he starts the science of it, he's trying to help women regulate their menstrual cycles. I think that's what's behind it. Joe probably has a little better command of the history than I do. But this single man, I mean, there are bad ideas behind birth control, but the contraception, I don't like that word, birth control, hormonal contraceptives, they're bad ideas that inform its design and its use. But the creation, the design of the hormonal contraceptive, and that was 100 years ago, right? Roughly?
Yeah, that's right.
Something
Not even that long.
So in 100 years,
The trajectory of the human race has been permanently altered.
and
permanently
I think not reversible.
It
Which
may not-
also I think we should talk about.
Well, I do think even the demographers, they're a dour group. The demographers.
I thought it was doer.
Doer.
Is
There's
it
a doer.
doer or dower?
Dower.
Oh,
right.
Okay,
I like Joe. I like Joe better.
It's
I don't-
doer
what-
and it's schism.
You have some. You have very precise
Wow.
pronunciations.
No, I hate this, but it looks like maybe both pronunciations are right. But when I clicked the pronunciation guide, it said doer.
Doer. Yeah.
I've never
Didn't
heard
you get
anyone
All right,
pronounce it that way.
the demographers are negative, but
Don't
there
you have
is
a master's degree in English?
There is. I do have a master's degree
Doer.
in English. Yeah,
And by the
yes,
way, it's
we-
syrup. Syrup.
But my degree was earned in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where pronunciation doesn't count for any points.
M-A-R-R-Y, and M-E-R-R-Y are all different sounds for them.
All right, but look, it does seem like China has. I was very interested to hear how casual Steve Inskeep was in saying, despite the reversal of the one-child policy, one of the look. I know
Where they killed babies.
I know the Holocaust is like I'll accept that as the worst thing that happened in the 20th century. You want a competitor for second most evil thing? It's the Chinese vicious communists murdering, killing, brutalizing, and beating their way to a one-child policy. It's one of the most lunatic things that was ever done in the history of the human race, and China is never going to recover from it. Absent what Chris said, a miracle, and send us a miracle, Lord. We need a miracle for the people of China, because China cannot ever recover from it. They cannot ever replace the population that they lost. The population of China, that China in the next couple decades will lose 200 million people from their workforce. That is double the workforce of, well, I shouldn't say double the workforce of the United States, but it's pretty close to double the workforce of the entire United States. They're going to lose 200 million workers. The total population of China will be in decline until it gets to zero. That nobody knows how to reverse this. There's barring a full spiritual revival where Chinese women decide, I want to. They won't do it if they don't want to. The state can't control them. No one can make them. Unless the Spirit of God moves and Chinese women say, I want to have a large family, which was considered a blessing in China for 4,000 years, and the communists ruined that, China will never recover. And people don't understand how serious that story is.
It is extraordinary. A generation ago, we were going to reproduce ourselves and suffocate ourselves.
It was always a lie.
Yeah.
It was always a lie.
Yep.
Well, it was a mistake on some people's part, but in many part, it was a lie. They just wanted to
Well,
reduce
it's
things.
possible for a single part of the country to have too many people in it.
It's possible for a boat to have too many people in it.
That's right.
That's not overpopulation. That's too many people in that
that's
particular
that's
boat.
a scale problem. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, 1,000 people in the studio would be a lot.
Right. When I'm sitting in traffic, That's not overpopulation.
Yes,
That's just a problem of crowding.
Right,
It has nothing to, there's no such thing as
It's a scale
overpopulation.
problem.
It has never existed. It never can exist. There is no such thing as overpopulation. It's a figment of our imagination. Joe, you look like you chomping at
Well,
the bit.
I was just gonna add that like the one-child
Champing.
policy, even though
Champing. It's champing.
I'm sorry.
Champing at the bit.
Joe, you look dour and like you are champing at the schismatic bit. Go ahead.
Perfect. I'm a doer. I'm a champ. The one-child policy, I didn't realize this. Do you know when they got rid of all of the limits completely?
I think it was
So it
just
went from one child to two child to
I'm going to say
three child.
2017.
2015. But yeah, pretty
2015.
darn close.
Okay.
And even then, I'm sorry, no, 2021. 2020, so let me
Too little, too late.
Yeah, 2015, they raised it from one child to two. 2021 to 3 children. And then a few months later, they removed all limits. Because I think they realized they've done a huge damage. And obviously, people were aborting their daughters
It was
or
girls,
abandoning
right.
their daughters to die because they realized they would be more likely to be economically supported in later life by sons. And so there is this whole generation of missing women. And we have no idea what that's going to mean, but it's not going to be good. It's not
Well,
gonna
it's
be
bad for reproduction.
Yes,
that's
it's very.
true.
That's what makes the problem. That exacerbates the problem. You have an excess of men. I mean, nature has this really cool thing. It does. It slightly more boys are born than girls, and by the time we're 18, it's exactly 50-50 because
That is
boys are
really cool.
idiots. we fall off of stuff. We kill ourselves.
They walk in front of strollers in the grocery store.
We just do moronic. That we
Life
know
will
that.
find a way.
All right, we don't need
Life
women
will
to
find
tell
a
us
way.
this. By the way, we know what morons we are. We just don't want to talk about it. So by 18, we're perfectly matched, and that will never be true in any society on Earth again because people are doing selective abortion. Play clip number 2, Darren, if you would.
I don't need another one. I don't want another one. I love having only one child. It is, I think, a very elegant choice because I still feel like I have balance in my life.
Wow.
The description of children as a very elegant choice. Like, it is not like you've decided to use the really nice silverware at dinner and you're just like, wow, this really improves the look of the table. These are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very elegant choice to just have one. That whole way of thinking about the world is hard to get myself.
I just have to
in the
say this
mind.
as the child of 6 brothers and sisters, the best gift any
Yes,
parent
yes.
can ever give a
Siblings.
child is a brother or a sister.
Siblings.
That's what they
Yes.
want. They don't want the private school. They don't want the Lexus. They want a brother and sister. That's what they want. If you really love that one kid, give them a brother or a sister. Go ahead,
It
Chris.
sounds, when you have one kid, like you're just going to be multiplying your problems, and it's not really true. Like it.
Oh, you've
there are
already got
times
so many
where
problems. By the
it's
time you got one
exponential,
kid,
but-
you have so many
Right.
problems. Stop worrying about stuff. This whole thing is going on faith now after this.
By the way, if
My kids are 5, 4, and 2 right now, and when they all play together and we can actually like sit down and breathe, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, dealing with one of them is more taxing than having all 3 of them around where they can, interact with each other.
So this woman does not understand God's design for the human person, which is to create a person who gives of himself or herself.
Right.
And so, frankly, it could be possible, I suppose, though unlikely, that someone might say, I want one boy and one girl. Well, actually, someone could say that. I want one boy and one girl, and we're stopping at that. But it's still this sort of collecting or acquisition. When as
It
Joe-
meets my needs as a parent.
Yeah, right.
I want what
it's about
meets
me.
my needs
It is
as a parent.
about me, and parenting is not about you. It's about the children.
It's about what your
forming.
wife tells you to do. That's what it's about.
Yes, yeah.
We got a lot more from National Public Radio to come on the other side, so I hope you'll hang with us. It's not to say that National Public Radio's reporting is bad on this. As a matter of fact, I'm very glad that they're reporting on it. They are late to the game, but it's interesting what they have to say. And we'll talk about what that young woman you just heard said, because we do want to say, look, somehow in her life, the point of human life was not communicated, or maybe she rejected it, but it seems to me more like it wasn't communicated. But this is a problem we need to admit to ourselves. If young women will not have children, the human race does not go on. So let's all start thinking about how can we structure the whole of our society so that young women will choose children because it's worth everything we have, because it's one of those things, if you don't do it, what you get is no future. We will continue. Chris Check will come back for another hour. I might not be here. I might be in the Human Resource Office complaining about Joe Heschmeyer, but Joe Heschmeyer will be here right back after this with more Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. It's Flannel Panel today. You wouldn't know it by looking at the shot of Joe Heschmeyer on the screen where he is wearing his Halloween shirt, but he's still sartorial. Is that the correct pronunciation, or are you going to correct my pronunciation?
No, that is correct.
Sartorial. His sartorial choices always win the day here.
Do you have a Halloween? I don't have a Halloween shirt, Si.
What kind of an American doesn't have a Halloween shirt? No, I don't have a Halloween shirt. I'm just kidding. I'm
grown up.
This is an adult size. That's all I'm going to... Look, the existence of this speaks for itself. Res ipsa loquitur.
The thing about it is, we know for a fact that your wife opposed you buying it, which means this is your own, whatever funds she allows you to have for sandwiches and stuff. You saved that up and got yourself a Halloween shirt just to stay out of trouble with your wife, but also to get the thing that you wanted.
Yeah, this one's actually like 2 years old too, so I'm getting a lot of mileage out of it.
Well, look, how many days a year are you wearing it, Joe? Like, if you're wearing it enough that you're worried about wearing out your Halloween shirt.
It's a fair point. That you might need a second Halloween shirt.
I think you should
do it for all of October for the Halloween Advent that Chris was advocating for.
Halloween event.
Wear it to midnight mass, Joe.
They don't have midnight mass anymore. Nobody does midnight mass anymore.
10 p.m. mass, whatever it's called. Yeah. Can I make a correction here, real quick?
Oh, yes, please.
John Rocco was actually working in the 50s. I thought it was earlier than that.
Oh, you're talking about the birth control pill or the what do we call it? Oral contraceptives.
So less than a century. In less than a century, the effect of this man's work
is.
The sex revolution was almost immediately after.
Yeah.
I mean, you can draw a very short straight line.
Oh, no, it was to fornicate with impunity.
Well, the sexual revolution, I would argue, goes back farther than that. I want to say further because it's a...
Farther?
I'm so worried that you're going to correct my...
Wait.
No, I know the difference between farther and further.
Farther is distance.
Generally speaking, yes. It loosened up in recent years. But
we're trying to tighten things up here, Si.
You are. You're trying to tighten up my vocabulary all day today. But,
Siobhan made a mistake earlier. She said...
when she should have said I.
I
know. That was so sweet of you to correct her in front of the entire staff.
Yeah.
I thought that was beautiful.
We need to have Siobhan on to do a response if she's going to get called out on the air.
Siobhan did want to come on and talk about the Book of Sirach today, and I don't even remember the context or something.
No.
Okay.
Now I forgot the thing that I was... Oh, the sexual revolution. It's really a series of technical revolutions that give us the sexual revolution. One of them is the motion picture. One of them is the birth control pill. One of them is the television. The
automobile.
The saxophone. The saxophone and the electric guitar.
I got nothing better.
These are the most sensuous instruments,
yeah.
Si.
So So we end up by the 1960s. We turn ourselves into complete idiots, and so in those few short years, a time that can be measured in one human life, in less than a relatively young human life, we've managed to completely change the direction of the human race. A lot of it having to do with Walter Cronkite going on the news year after year talking about overpopulation. I mean, that's one of the uses of technology that was completely moronic. I mean,
and the Rockefellers paying for it.
Yeah. So, all right, I want to get back to that. And we're going to get back to NPR's reporting, which is not all bad reporting, and we're not criticizing NPR. But before that, I want to invite you to come with us because there's only a few cabins left. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, and I we call ourselves the Flannel Panel. Joe plays lead guitar.
So I play saxophone.
I play saxophone, and for some reason we can never find Chris. So
can I give a quick shout out to Pope Francis
while I'm doing a commercial? Yes, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please do that. Please give out a shout out to Pope Francis. Go ahead.
It took me a while to find it, and I found it.
Okay.
Pope Francis denounced the myth of overpopulation and said that the problem was consumerism, not overpopulation, blamed for world hunger. And he talked about how there were no shortage of studies claiming that there was overpopulation. He said, I was always struck by how these theses, which are now outdated, talk about human beings as if they were problems. And that is exactly the point that we were making earlier. So Pope Francis beat all of us to it.
There's a classic overpopulation cover of Newsweek magazine from about, 69 or 70, 71, somewhere in there. And It's a picture of a giant crowd of people at a train station. Every single person in the picture is brown skinned. There was a very clear message of the world is overpopulated
with brown people.
Wink.
With the wrong kind of people. Right.
Like, we're not getting the right kind of people here.
Paul Ehrlich makes this point almost explicitly at the beginning of Population Bomb. He talks about being in India and how horrible it was. And he doesn't want that to be what it's like
what we really need is fewer Indians. That's what we need.
Margaret Sanger.
Did we clip that?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, please, Bender, do not clip these things when Joe says clip them. That was satire on my part.
Margaret Sanger was explicit. She said, more births from the fit, fewer from the unfit.
Yeah, and brown makes you unfit.
It does.
In some ways.
It does.
And sadly, a lot of people became convinced of it. I mean, the Indian government itself prevented the birth, forcibly sterilized women, went out into the hill country of India and now they did not commit the crimes on the scale that the evil Chinese communists did, but the Indian government did this. This is a thing that happened.
The United States government did it too.
Yeah.
We kept
American
pushing the brown
Indians
people
and
towards
Puerto
the Pacific
Ricans.
Ocean.
Yeah, sure. Yes. I'm not saying. I didn't mean. I just. Okay. Yes, you are correct. I'm just saying that and I think a lot of the leaders, the bureaucrats in India that pushed this were trained in American universities. So and they went back to India and they had big ideas. And what they thought the world needed was less Indians. And clearly, the world does not need fewer. I should have said
fewer Indians. Thank you.
I don't know. Now I'm just all flustered about my. Look, we want you to come on the Rhine River cruise with us. So we're going to go back to. We're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming, but the flannel panel is going to go up the Rhine, down the Rhine, up the Rhine.
No, it is up, even though it looks like down.
Yeah, we're going to start in Amsterdam. We're going to finish in Basel or Basil. I don't know the pronunciation of that spice. And you are welcome to come with us May 2nd through 14th. You just go to CatholicCruise.com and check it out, CatholicCruise.com. A bunch of the cabins are sold out, but Chris has made a very forceful point about this. I would like you to repeat your point about the sold out cabins.
I will tell you, there were 16 cabins this morning when I came to work, and now there are 15.
Okay, but that was not the point I was thinking you were going to make.
No, it's this. Okay. So many of the less expensive cabins, if not all, have sold out.
Right.
The first few decks. If that was one that you wanted,
Yeah.
Call us and we will work something out with you.
We will work something out with you. We want you to
on
come.
this ship.
There's not a lot of cabins left, and we'd love people to be in them. So go to. Oh, also we'll give you $300 off per person. So $600 per couple. $1,200 per two couples.
Send an email to Jennifer at Catholic.com.
Jennifer at Catholic.com.
And we will make you a great deal.
When you sign up, use this promo code CA Radio 2026 and you'll get that $300 off. CA Radio 2026. CatholicCruise.com. All right, let's do clip number 3. You got clip number 3, Darren? Is that all right? No, you know what? We wanted to talk about that young woman. She said the more elegant choice. It was an elegant choice to have one child. And I do think we need to make the point, we're not going to brutalize young women into having more children. We're not going to bribe young women into having more children. And the other side of that is we can't go on as a species if young women won't have more children. So we can't brutalize them. And I'm not saying I want to brutalize them or bribe them. I'm just saying, look, you can't just make fun of this young woman and think she's going to go out and have another child. That's not going to work. So what do you two make of this? What's the thing that will open the human heart to children again where it is currently closed?
The thing is a person. His name is Jesus.
Amen, brother.
Actually, there really isn't another answer. There's no other answer. So, I mean, you said it in the previous hour. Short of a real conversion of heart, probably miraculously inspired at this point.
We shouldn't bet against that. I mean, that is the Lord's motive.
Well, and you certainly see it at an individual level with enough frequency that there's no reason to bet against it.
Yeah.
But I think there's maybe a few things. One, you can start the seeds of a cultural shift just by being very pro-family in your own family and instilling those values in your own kids. Because here's the thing. The people who think it's elegant to just have one kid, there's only going to be one of their kids in the next generation. The people who think it's good to have 10 kids, there's going to be like 10 times as many of those kids. And so if you can instill good values in your kids, then yeah, you're still going to have the short-term decline, but as you're going to get the cultural change precisely because there's been a multi-generational, fewer and fewer kids that's literally suicidal. I mean, you don't have the continuation of the species at a certain point with that. Because it turns out what's even more elegant than having one kid is having like a beautiful flamingo that you take with you everywhere. But then you don't have any kids. And then there's no more generation. And so meanwhile, those of us who are like not as worried about how elegant it is to have spit up on us are having the kids and are
You're going to win. People like you are going to win. I see what you're saying. Darren's winning right now. He's about kid number 6 records. Coming any day. We don't know. Any day.
So at the beginning, when we introduced the segment, you played the bit from NPR where Steve Inskeep said about the implications for capitalism. And it's whatever your economic worldview is, there are implications. But if you believe in some kind of, let's just call it social security,
who's going to take care of you?
You have to have more children at the bottom of the pyramid, more productive persons at the bottom of the pyramid than people taking the Social Security at the top of the pyramid.
Do you know people don't believe that anymore, though? They think robots are going to do it. They actually, I'm not kidding you, like you can read articles where people think robots are going to fill in.
Are going to create the wealth?
I don't know what I'm not sure how they think, but they think, well, no, robots will be taking care of the world by then. I'll be fine. It'll be me with no kids. I'll be old and robots will be taking care of me.
Well, so I don't know how many people actually have thought it through that way and come to that conclusion. My suspicion is that most people just haven't thought it through.
I think that's right. You're right.
I think this nice young lady who's quoted has not thought through the fact that her decision runs contrary to a lot of her politics. If she...
It will end her politics,
Yes. If she favors all manner of public transfers, whatever kind they may be,
right,
that does require people to create the wealth in order to be taxed to have those public transfers.
Well, let's get some more of these clips played, but we'll do it right after the break because we have come to the point of the break. Right back with more Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
Stay with us for more Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Magnificat. Published monthly, Magnificat features texts of daily Mass, prayers, articles, meditations, art commentaries, and more, in step with the liturgical rhythm of the Church, on the web at magnificat.com.
Carry the faith wherever you go. Watch the EWTN series, specials, events, and news streaming live from anywhere in the world. Streaming is available on the EWTN app for Apple, Android, and Amazon devices. Download the EWTN app at EWTNapps.com today.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't see into the future. So it's just trends that we're talking about. And the trend looks quite down for the human population. People have been kind of brainwashed for probably 2 generations now by American media, by the international media, where the predominant story has been humans are killing the planet and there's too many humans. Underneath all of that, while that reporting was going on, people had stopped having children. Some people say, well, Muslim countries are having babies. No, they're not. Try looking at the current statistics on Muslim countries. They're not having babies. So the collapse in places like Iran is it's getting pretty close to where, like it is in Italy or Japan or China.
By the way, Cy, you know that it was written by Henry Kissinger, National Security State Memorandum 2000. It's been part of American foreign policy to arrest the population growth of developing world countries, especially Muslim countries, through the distribution of hormonal contraceptives. So this has been, it isn't simply choices like the nice lady who was quoted, who wants the
right. There's an active program of this.
Yes, exactly, funded by the United States taxpayer.
And leading the opposition and getting no glory for it has been the Vatican City State in many diplomatic circles.
Oh, sure.
Let's do clip 5. Not everybody agrees with us that this is a problem. Here's a Harvard economist.
And some experts, including Claudia Golden at Harvard University, say they're not worried about the impact of an aging, shrinking population on the world's economy.
I am not worried about that. Scarcity is everywhere. Trade-offs are everywhere. There is no optimal birth rate.
Golden thinks much of the concern about population is a backlash against high rates of immigration and the empowerment of women.
So I just want to point out that a Harvard economist is claiming that you two, I'm going to put myself in this category, you don't like immigrants and women, and that's why you think that population decline is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, it is the people who want there to be more immigrants than women who are the problem, apparently.
That's a very good point. People like the U.S. Catholic bishops who have been advocating for more immigration, or for at least more care for immigrants. And there are extraordinary Catholic women who I really do think it's Catholic women who, on the intellectual side, have been making the argument that the feminism of abortion and birth control, the feminism that puts those things forefront, is actually a false feminism, that it has nothing to do with what... I really appreciate people like Helen Alvarez, and I'll just leave it with that, with her, because if I'll try to name more, I'll make mistakes. But lots of brilliant... Marianne Glendon, lots of brilliant. I'm thinking of them as I go. I mean, a ton of brilliant Catholic women have led
if
this.
Your idea of feminism is making women less like women and more just like interchangeable workers,
yes,
that doesn't look like feminism.
No,
like
right. That's
just
a false
looks
feminism.
Right.
Yeah.
And the great irony is, acting like it's this weird obsession with capitalism on those of us who say, yeah, human beings, male and female, they're not just workers. And family is really enriching, and maybe we shouldn't reduce people to the level of their ability to produce. And also, if you do that to every individual, you end up destroying society as well. Those are not anti-immigrant, anti-woman, any kind of thing. And what's more is, immigration is not going to be a long-lasting solution to the problem. Like in the short term, you can use it to plug gaps. But the global birth rate is declining.
Yeah, the immigrants typically pick up the habit of the Western nation that they...
So they just stop having babies.
Yeah,
anyways.
they stop. They start taking the pills too.
Right.
What Joe says though makes me think. Let's taking the transcendent view out of this. Even if you were just looking at this problem naturally, which after the incarnation, this is just a thought experiment. But if you just looked at this problem naturally, you would be inspired to have lots of children, I think. If someone someone who's 35 years old right now thinking, okay, by the time I'm 65 and the public coffers have dried up, or we've printed so much money that the dollar is worth some devalued currency. The people who are going to be supported in their dotage,
right,
are going to be the ones who've had children to look after them.
That's a natural consequence of not having children. Is you don't have people to look
so
after
you said we don't have a crystal ball, and that's true. But I think it's part terrifying, part exciting to think about what the new social arrangement's going to look like. I mean, I hope it doesn't look like The Walking Dead or something like that. But there will be parts of the country where fertility is celebrated, and they will thrive. And then there will be parts that will decay. And I actually think we can see this already. I think of some of these little villages in Italy that are selling off property for $1 if you come and fix it up. Because there's no one in the town anymore to grind the coffee beans or empty the garbage or fix the Fiats, and they need to get fixed a lot, the Fiats.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I mean, a lot of there are neighborhoods in Detroit that just never came back.
Right.
Some
things don't come back. North Africa never came back.
Right, that's right.
Since the 5th century.
Right, from its glory days.
It never
North
came
Africa,
back. Some things never come back.
Right.
Quebec.
What's 1,000 years in the eyes of
Quebec's
the
not
Lord?
going to
though?
come back.
No, and upstate New York is probably not coming
No,
back.
some things don't come back.
And part of that is people are not having children. Let's hear the other side. So that was the Harvard economist.
Well,
Let's see.
sorry, can I say one thing real quick?
Please.
The fact you have a Harvard expert being like, I'm not worried about it, when it's like, no,
Right.
objectively, these are huge. And then she's just like, scarcity's everywhere.
That's
I feel
also
like if you're
false. That's false, by the way.
It is false. And it's false in a very obvious way. Like if you were like, Joe, we asked you to write this article, and I was just like, people don't do things sometimes. Like that's just a really weird response to give to. Yeah, but you didn't do this.
But it's also
this
weird
is a real problem.
to cap your this seems to be a weird tick of Northeastern intellectuals to cap your argument with the assertion of bigotry on the part of your opponent. Like you can never just finish the argument. You always have to imply that and the people who disagree with me are bigots.
It's such an intellectually lazy move because it obviously shuts down debate. Because if people are actually cowed by it, then they're like, well, I guess I shouldn't think that way. And it's like, but if you didn't have that there and your only argument was, let's not think too deeply
fine.
about shortages. It'll be okay. There's no such thing as an ideal rate. It's like all of those are just insane platitudes for someone who should know better.
But all of a sudden it becomes deeply insightful if you just end with the accusation that all of your opponents are bigots.
By the way, demographers for a very long time have been talking, I don't know if they would use the word ideal rate, but they do talk about replacement rate.
Yes,
They
it's a
talk
little
about
more
that.
than 2. So 2.1.
Yeah.
Let's hear what someone from a different a different university here in the United States had to say.
Melissa Carney at Notre Dame worries the world faces a future where the cost of having kids, everything from lost career opportunities to high daycare prices, will encourage more couples to opt out of parenting altogether.
The more we become a society that's moving away from one oriented towards children, then the cost of having kids go up and the benefits of remaining childless and pursuing a childless life, the expectations of the workforce, all of that pushes towards amplifying the trend we're already on.
This, I think, we've already seen this in the cost of housing. That when some women went to work and had fewer children, those families could afford to pay more for housing. So families where women stayed home and had more children could no longer afford housing. So they were forced in the next generation to be families where women went to work and didn't have more children. Because every choice you make has a consequence. And the choice to say this is that the two earner family is the norm, it doesn't just say, well, it'll be your option if you want to be the one earner family. It makes everything more expensive for the one earner family, and then they can't do it.
Can I say the professor from Notre Dame is correct until she's not correct?
What did she get wrong?
Well, no, I'm saying she's correct, and I don't know when this moment is going to come.
Okay.
But pretty soon, the bottom will fall out of the housing market because there won't be
anybody
there
to buy
won't
the
be
house.
to buy. There'll be a lot of houses that will be empty.
Right.
That's why I brought up the case of the Italian villages that are empty right now.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, please come from America and pay $1 for the house and pay to fix it up and bring life back into our village.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's already happening. Now, maybe it's not happening here in the United States such that we're recognizing it, but I'm sure there are obviously cities anyway where people are moving out of the cities or neighborhoods that are starting to contract.
Well, when you travel around the country, both of you have been to cities where they said, oh, this place would have died years ago if we didn't have these immigrants that came in. That's already a fact. In
Los
many parts of
Angeles is such a place.
That may be, yeah. I mean, not that we would mourn the demise of Los Angeles.
I actually walked around Los Angeles about 15 miles
Don't
on
say
Friday
something
and
nice
Saturday.
about Los Angeles, please.
Is the fact that it's named after angels offensive?
Say something nice. Go ahead. I dare
it's
you.
It's
Say
named
something.
after the river, Santa Maria d'Angelo. It's actually.
What's the full name, though?
That's the full name. Yes.
The city's full name.
Our Lady of the Angels.
Yeah, Lady of the Angels.
El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles del Rio de...
Right.
Oh, yeah, so it is named
The
after the
city's named
river.
after Our Lady.
The town of Our Lady, the
Wait,
Queen of the Angels.
we got to
of
go to
the
a break, so I got to let
portion-
Chris
okay.
try to say something positive
Sorry.
about this,
Go
the
ahead.
horrific battleground city of Los Angeles.
I used to think it was something I had to drive through to get from the south side of it to the north side of it, but I must have walked about 50 miles in LA on Friday and Saturday, and I have an affection for it now. To me, it's a stunning human achievement. It should not be. It should not be there. It should not be there. And yet this guy, this Irish guy, Mulholland,
brought the water down.
It's incredible.
But that's a historical
Now
appreciation.
it's a mess.
What is it now?
It's a mess.
Yeah.
But it's kind of an incredible mess. I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go back.
Like so many of our celebrities, it's an incredible mess. We're gonna take a quick break. Maybe we'll talk about the Louvre heist when we come back. Well, we got to talk about the Louvre heist. Or am I pronouncing that right? The Louvre. The Louvre. Louvre heist. We'll be right back. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, Cy Kellett.
I love
Final
LA.
panel.
I love LA.
Oh, Lord. Quiet down, Randy Newman. Right back. Catholic Answers Live. Have you ever wondered about the mysterious, even obscure aspects of the Catholic faith? Dive into the Jimmy Akin podcast, where Jimmy brings together information from many fields as he pushes the boundaries of apologetics. Tune in today to the Jimmy Akin podcast, Mysteries of the Faith, a highly entertaining, informative, and at times humorous show that will help you grow in your faith. Visit JimmyAkinPodcast.com today to subscribe.
Lots of people have big questions about Catholicism. It needs a big book of answers, and now it's got one. The Big Book of Catholic Answers is filled with helpful replies to more than 250 questions about the faith. Questions about God, salvation history, the Creed, the Bible, the list goes on and on. Order your copy of the Big Book of Catholic Answers today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What was the church like in its infancy? In a word, Catholic. And Joe Heschmeyer has the receipts. In his best-selling book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, he gives you the details from the historical records of the first 2 centuries of Christianity. Right now, get a copy for just $10, plus free shipping if you live in the continental United States. Get more information and order The Early Church Was the Catholic Church at theearlychurchwascatholic.com.
What is the Catholic Church? Everyone seems to have an opinion, but the church never quite fits into the boxes people make for it. In The Faith Unboxed, author Andrew Petiprin looks at some of the most common boxes people put the Catholic Church in and explains why they don't fit. In doing so, he brings us closer to what the church really is, the institution founded by Christ. Order The Faith Unboxed today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
I just need to prove to the people on YouTube, this is not a pre-recorded show, Ben, because Ben just made that comment. Is this a pre-recorded show?
Ben, what the heck?
Ben
Why are you
thinks-
throwing
How did you know he was going to do
shade?
that yesterday?
Ben thinks we're not taking calls.
Why is-
Therefore it's pre-recorded.
Why is
First
Ben-
of all, we love you, Ben. We want you to know. Thank you so much for
Quit
being
throwing
here.
shade,
But
Ben.
throwing
Is that-
shade.
is that throwing
You're
shade?
spending too much time in LA.
Yeah.
The reason we don't take calls is, have you heard how much we enjoy the sound of our own voices, Ben? Did you miss that subtle feature of this whole program? All right, the Louvre got robbed. The one good thing about the Louvre getting am I saying it wrong, Louvre? How do you
Nailing
say
it.
I'm nailing it? All right. Don't be so dour.
Rhymes with doer. Louvre.
Yeah.
It got robbed, and here's the best thing about it getting robbed. I'm always trying to find the silver lining. I now know
They took that.
I now know who Empress Eugenie is. I didn't know who or if I had known at some point, I forgot. And she seems like a lovely person. And I'm sorry that they stole her jewels. First of all, I did not know.
She's still alive?
No, she's not still alive.
She married to Napoleon III.
She was and did you all know this? That there's a Napoleon VII who's still alive? Jean
I did not know
Christophe.
that.
Did he weigh in on the Louvre theft?
I don't think so. I think maybe he's responsible for it. I don't know. You cannot trust those Bonapartists. No, I'm only kidding. Sorry, Bonapartists. I'm scared of them. I'm scared of them. Why did I say anything bad about them?
Okay,
yeah.
I am relieved to know that he is not actually named Napoleon. Napoleon VII is Jean Christophe.
No,
he is Prince Napoleon.
That's his title, Prince Napoleon. Yeah.
That's a crazy title.
I didn't know the French had crown jewels. I didn't know. I knew the British had crown
I feel
jewels.
like that feels like a very loaded thing to say about the French.
Well, didn't they all get destroyed in the Revolution? Or something?
You would think, or sold, or something. They've got crown jewels there. But this is after the Revolution. If it's Empress Eugenie,
Right.
it's like, I don't know, 50, 60 years after the Revolution.
Yeah, there was a brief period of restoration of the monarchy, right?
Right, and she was Catholic. She was Spanish Catholic, and she tried to reinvigorate the Catholic spirit of France. And so they drove her out, and she lived the last 50 years of her life in England. But I didn't know about her, and that's the best thing about the Louvre heist to me. Do either of you have anything? There is one other good thing about this, but I want to hear your views as well.
Is it going to be the picture of that guy?
Oh, no. There's 3 good things about it. It's I learned who Empress Eugenie is. There's a hilarious picture of Inspector Clouseau trying to... Joe, that...
Turns out he's just a random person walking by who just looks straight out of Central Casting.
He
It's amazing.
is so beautifully dressed. And he looks like Poirot or something, like a modern Poirot. Like, this guy is the detective that's going to crack this case. But did I say Poirot correctly?
Hercule Poirot.
Hercule Poirot. Yeah, but there's another good thing. But I haven't gotten your view on the stealing of the French crown jewels that I didn't even know existed.
I think I'm the one person who didn't pay attention to the story at all.
Well, you don't even care about history. Joe?
They caught the guys, right?
They caught some
They
of them.
caught 2 of them, I think.
Yeah.
And they caught them in the dumbest way possible. So they were trying to leave out of Charles de Gaulle. And I saw someone else observe online. France is part of the Schengen area. You can freely cross almost all of France's borders with no difficulty at all. Like there's not even a checkpoint. You can just drive across. You don't have to try to fly out of Paris. You can drive and fly out of Berlin or wherever. And instead you didn't even leave the city, and you went to like the one place where you're going to have your passport checked and everything else. It felt unnecessarily silly. So the fact that people who make silly mistakes were able to steal the jewels or steal the I don't know, whatever they stole.
But they could be the muscle. Do you know what I mean, Joe?
Yeah, true.
It's
That's
possible
true.
they were just the muscle.
This is how these things fall apart. So hopefully we'll find more arrests soon. But yeah, I thought it was a tragic.
But wait a second, isn't there some part of you that kind of roots for the criminals because you've
jewel
watched so
thief?
many movies about jewel thieves, and you think they're secretly they have a heart of gold, and they're going to take care of people in an orphanage?
They
or
ruined
something?
some of the jewelry and absconding with it, and I thought that was the part that actually struck me the hardest. Like, oh, you ruined that forever because you got a little greedy. But I want to know more of the backstory to how it happened. Like, it could be that they're just enterprising young men who just think, I know a way to make a buck. That museum has a bunch of expensive-looking stuff. And then they had no plan for what was going to happen next. Or, they're going to go
I
pawn
don't
it or
think that's
something.
what it is.
I think
I don't
there's
think that's
probably
what-
some wealthy people who orchestrated this insane heist.
Yeah,
And I want to
organized
know more
crime.
about that story.
I think it's organized crime because they stole jewels. You can't pawn art, but you can do whatever you want with jewels. Jewels are entirely fungible. So I think it's like $40 million worth of jewels. They'll cut them up and sell them somewhere. So I think it's organized crime. But this is the other good thing that came out of the crime. And it's not as good as me learning who Empress Eugenie is, who I now really
Who
like.
apparently was an ultramontane supporter of the papacy, opponent of Victor Emmanuel II. She wanted to put French troops in Rome to protect the Pope.
Good.
Yeah, like
She's
I'm
some
telling
kind
you,
of-
I told you I started to dig her when I learned about her. I thought, I like this is one of my favorite empresses.
You can't keep giving me cool things to look up on Wikipedia while I'm supposed to be listening to you, though. That's not fair.
All right, this is my second favorite thing after Empress Eugenie, whose jewels were stolen. You know that truck that they used? They drove the truck up. In a matter of seconds, they had the ladder all the way up, and they got up to the 3rd or 4th floor. And it was amazing how the company that makes that truck took the picture of the truck in front of the Louvre and made an ad about it. And it says, if you need equipment that works quickly, buy our truck.
Okay.
And they're running it in German magazines. What do you think of that? It's called a Bacher lift truck.
Will we see one of those on our Rhine River cruise? Well, they have.
I'm sure we should look for it. We should get our picture taken with a Bacher lift truck. We should do that. Yep. If you're in a hurry, the Bacher Aglio carries your treasure up to 400 kilograms at 42 min, quiet as a whisper, thanks to its 230-volt electric motor. So that's the ad they have. And it's a picture of the truck outside the Louvre. I think that's. I find that funny. Do I have a sick sense of humor?
No,
is that sick?
it is.
Am I a
good.
sick person?
It's funny. It's funny.
All right.
If this whole thing turns out to be some sort of viral ad, like they set them up, they're the ones behind the.
We
they just wanted to
did
get
it
the
to
ad.
sell trucks. Yeah,
Exactly.
We sold $40 million of jewels to sell
you think about some of these ad
$100,000
budgets,
truck.
Would you rather pay for a Super Bowl ad or just pay the civil fine for robbing the Louvre?
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for a break again. When we come back, I'm going to give you guys a choice. So we can talk about reading. Who's doing better in reading, Mississippi or the state of California, in teaching children to read? We can talk about MTV dying. We could talk about the movie producer Judd Apatow took ayahuasca and says he saw Jesus. I've got a couple other choices. I'll let the flannel panel decide what they want to talk about for the final segment, and then we will get to our big segment that we always end in with the flannel panel recommends, where each of us will make a recommendation. Joe is thinking of his right now because I can see by the look on his face.
I
He
just immediately
forgot.
was like, oh yeah, we do that every time, don't we? And I never am ready.
All right back with more flannel panel and Catholic Answers Live.
You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Proclaiming the faith, changing lives.
The year was 2013. EWTN News Nightly launches from Washington, D.C., bringing news and analysis from a Catholic perspective to TV viewers and radio listeners worldwide.
To learn more about Mother Angelica's life and the history of EWTN, visit EWTN.com/Mother Angelica.
Who was the first Catholic in your family? Were they evangelized by a friend, a coworker, a stranger? Did you ever think that you could be that person that God uses to save a soul? And that soul could save their family, their grandchildren, and generations to come. At St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, we train, equip, and mobilize Catholic disciples to do the urgent work of evangelization. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization, streetevangelization.com.
All right. Well, I bullied the flannel panel, I think, a little bit, and we're going to talk about Judd Apatow. Took ayahuasca and says he saw Jesus. It's in all the papers. I think it was a magazine. No, it was in Wall Street Journal is where it was first reported. They did an interview with Judd Apatow. One of these interviews where you get to learn about your favorite celebrity, like what he likes to eat and what he does in the morning.
Is Judd Apatow your favorite celebrity?
I'm saying that is the type of thing. I don't think who is my favorite celebrity? I got to think about who my favorite celebrity is. I think I should just tick off Chris
Cy
and say
Kellett.
it's Tom Cruise.
Cy
Chris
Kellett.
hates it when I say I like Tom Cruise.
Oh, can I say
I think he's a wonderful movie actor. Yeah.
I watched the latest
Tom Cruise movie,
Mission Impossible, on the airplane. It took me 2 airplane rides to get through it because it's long.
Yes, it's very long.
But
the Final Reckoning.
I found well, is it going to be?
No, it's it's like the Who breaking up, and it's our final concerts.
Yeah, final tour.
They do it every couple of years.
I found it very entertaining. I mean, I had no idea what the plot was.
That's exactly how I feel. I don't know what we're running around for, but it's a lot.
But there was a lot of it.
Yeah, and the
I
airplane
wanna see
stuff was
some sort of
amazing.
Tally of just how many of Tom Cruise's movies he has a running scene in that is completely extraneous to the plot, because my conservative estimate is 100% of his movies.
This is what I would do if I was Tom Cruise's, if I was his, what would you call me? His agent. If I'd be Tom, look, you're over 60 now. Let's do a movie where it's the prostate. You've got to find a bathroom, and we'll get you running with that Tom Cruise run looking for a bathroom somewhere. What do you think? I think this is a brilliant idea. We take something he's known for and we put a little twist on it. What do you think?
Like he struggles from a little bit of cruise control?
Joe always brings it. I never like it, but he always brings it. Oh, that got a thumbs down from Edgar. He gave you a thumbs down on that.
That's fantastic. That only feeds it.
All right. So I said to Chris earlier today, Joe, while you were busy ignoring my emails, I said to Chris, let's talk about Judd Apatow. He took ayahuasca and he saw Jesus. And this is what Chris said. Who's Judd Apatow? And is ayahuasca the South American thing? That's what he said.
No, I said Hiawatha.
It's Hiawatha. That's right. He said, "Is Hiawatha that South?" I apologize. I messed up.
It's like you go inside a tent or something, and it's steamy, and then you eat some leaves.
It's like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
I don't know. Just
He
let's ignore him.
I
don't know what
during the off season.
You have to have a shaman help you out with this one.
Didn't
I think
Didn't Sohrab Armani do this?
You asked me, and I don't know too much about what Sohrab.
He took one. He ate some of these leaves and wrote about it. I want to go on record saying, don't eat leaves.
Hiawatha. Don't eat ayahuasca.
Yeah, just stop. Don't.
We
the cross and the vine of death. He did.
Yeah, we wrote about this on Catholic.com about the new shamanism.
Yeah, a very good article. And I think we're going to have the gentleman who wrote the article, we'll have him on as a guest on the show, right? Because there is this thing where people are all into psychedelics now. And there's a kind of, there was, the Timothy Leary thing. This is before your time, Joe. You can take a nap now. But there was in the Timothy Leary days, tune
LSD.
Turn on, tune in, drop out. I have the order wrong probably, but
turn off.
Those are very hazy days. I can't remember them clearly. And so this idea that there was the electric Kool-Aid acid test, where Tom Wolfe wrote about these people who had a messianic view of LSD, that it was going to open the mind of the world. And the weird thing
doors
is,
of perception.
Yeah,
for whom the doors are named.
Right. So you're. Are they right or are they wrong that these psychedelic drugs will open the doors of perception? Yes or no?
I mean, it seems like the danger with psychedelics is twofold. One is that there's just a loss of rationality. But two, you can put yourself in a place where you are more spiritually vulnerable. And I'm not saying our Lord can't work with that. He can work with somebody who is in a heightened or exaggerated state because of substances. I remember many, many years ago being in adoration in Alexandria, Virginia, and a man who was clearly drunk came in and just started weeping before the Eucharist. And, on the one hand, I don't think that's a good way to soften your heart towards Christ. On the other hand, I don't doubt that our Lord can do things through that. I have no idea what that man's next day was like. It may have been just an emotional experience, like so many things when people have been drinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't doubt that he can work with that. It doesn't endorse it.
I understand that there is actually specific teaching in the Catholic religion about deliberately losing your presence of mind.
Yes, I'm not saying it's good.
Actually, it's a sin. It's a sin.
Is that a theological understanding or is that a teaching of the church? It seems to me the theologians.
Well, I would say it opposes the natural law. I'd start there. To deliberately lose your presence of mind.
No, I totally agree that it's but I was just asking, is that a teaching of the church or is that something we get from the theologians rooted in the teaching of the church? Because I agree with you.
Let's ask Carlo. Let's get Carlo. Can I call Carlo?
Well, the
Catechism in paragraph 2291.
What does it say?
Says, the use of drugs inflicts very grave damage on human health and life. Their use, except on strictly therapeutic grounds, is a grave offense. And then it gives some other. So it just says don't use drugs you don't need to be using.
Yeah, but the reason is because you lose your presence of mind. Well, but also other bad things it does to your body too,
right. Like
you abuse alcohol and you pickle your liver and you shorten your life and things like that. But
I sometimes feel like I think that there was a time when the Beatles wanted to do all this LSD stuff and everything, and it was the same time when they were kind of following around the Maharishi Yogi. And I think the yogi told them, don't do that. Like he was like, that's stupid. Like meditate, learn to meditate. So I may disagree with the yogi on certain religious matters, but he was stop it, Joe. He was, but he's at least a grown up where he's able to go, right. No, don't do that. There's you're taking the easy path. And you want some enlightenment out of it. There's a reason why you should meditate and don't take that easy path. It's gonna mislead you. And I think a lot of what I notice about people who do take the easy path and go, I took LSD and it changed my life and it gave me light. And I don't actually think you're probably entirely wrong about the LSD experience doing something for you. But when I listen to you talk, I think I don't think your reality testing is as good as it used to be. Like, I feel like you think you gained something, but it seems to me like you might have lost something.
So is I don't have any experience with this, and I'm not knowledgeable in it. I don't know anything about it. But is it illusory?
That's what I think.
So I am under the impression that, for example, we talked about this in the hallway, Brian Wilson's capacity to write songs probably was assisted by his use
copious use.
Yeah. I'm against this. I like his music, but I'm against.
No, but it's like a baseball player who uses
steroids.
They are a better baseball player.
Yeah,
but
that's a good analogy. Sorry.
Like I think that there's some things like people talk about. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Please.
Well, I was going to say, I think in both those cases that there might be a slim door open, not for people excessively abusing things like that, but people talk about like microdosing things now. And if you're someone who is a baseball player, finding the line of what am I legally and morally allowed to take to enhance my performance without crossing that line seems to be a not insignificant part of the preparation process, right? Like if there's some diet, if there's some compound, if there's some supplement that'll help you play a better ball, people will go to all lengths to do that. And then, frequently they'll cross that line into things that they're injecting that they shouldn't be.
Right.
But similarly, I think with psychedelics, like if there is, because sometimes it seems like people are dealing with anxiety and things like this, where it does seem like maybe doing small dose for therapeutic reasons, it does put us in a different category morally. I just think it's a more morally gray area than the people who are just recreationally doing it because they think this is how they're going to find God.
Is Judd Apatow going to become a Christian now?
Judd Apatow.
Judd okay.
It's pretty good.
Is he gonna?
I don't mean to be dour about this.
Is he gonna be? Since he met Jesus,
this is what he said. I don't recommend it to anyone because it's so crazy, and I could really tell.
Christianity or ayahuasca?
No, this is talk about ayahuasca. I could really tell how it could spin the wrong way for other people, but I did have a very positive reaction to it. At the end of this long, arduous trip, I saw Jesus, which is weird because I'm Jewish. But what I took from the whole experience was that
a lot of the first people who saw him were Jewish. Also.
Actually, all of the first people who saw Jesus were Jewish.
There's some Romans.
Oh, I was thinking of just at the time he was born.
Oh, at the manger? Yeah, fair.
But what I took from the whole experience...
those three kings
can you
were
let
Jewish. We're gonna see the three kings on the cruise.
I think it's important that I finish.
They're in the Cologne Cathedral.
But what I took from the whole experience was that the most important thing we all can do in this life is to be there for other people, and that was certainly worth 8 hours of crying. I don't think he had a religious conversion. I don't think he saw Jesus. I think that,
sounds like he got high.
If I thought that he saw Jesus, I would have to say, well, you rejected him, because the most important thing in life is to follow Jesus. You might think that is to be there for other people, and that is certainly what Jesus taught. But that's not the most important thing in life.
The second greatest commandment.
Yeah, it's of the commandments. It's definitely the second greatest commandment, and and so I don't know if it's a punchline that he's trying to throw at us that I saw Jesus, which is weird because I'm Jewish. But like, are we supposed to think? Oh, I don't know. But he's a comedian, and that maybe everything comes out of him like that. It might be just patter is what he does, but it all seems so trivial or trivialized in his telling of it, and his insight is actually not an insight that's worth altering your brain chemistry to get. You're supposed to get that in kindergarten.
It's the inside of every Hallmark movie. Oh, the true meaning of Christmas is we should help the town and love each other. And
right.
It's like, that's like a secondary thing,
right?
But it really has something to do with the Christ part.
Like, you endangered your mental health, left your wife and children, went to South America, cried for 8 hours, and you got a Hallmark card, and you say it's worth it. Well, what if you had hurt yourself? What if you had not come back from this thing? Was that worth it? Now, we only have a limited amount of time, and I do say that because I do think fathers have different obligations than other people do. I remember we were jumping off cliffs when we were kids one time, and my father wouldn't jump off the cliffs, and I was like, Dad, why don't you jump off with it? And he goes, 27 meals a day. That's what he said. He goes, I can't get hurt. I gotta feed people.
I like that he knew immediately how many meals a day.
He had been thinking about it. He'd been waiting to pounce on me with that one. Like 3 times 9. Like I have to provide 27 meals a day. I'm not jumping off a cliff with you. I do think fathers have different
was
obligations.
he counting your mom?
Yeah, he had to feed.
Yes,
and
my
himself.
And himself?
And himself, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So there were 7 children.
There were 7 children,
all
2
right.
parents.
I'm
yes.
keeping up.
You're doing the math.
Yeah,
You're like,
yep.
did everyone eat meals every day?
Yeah. So I do think fathers have greater obligations, and I think part of it is like, no, don't do that because you're a father. Like you're not supposed to take risks with yourself when you're a father. You're supposed to try to be there with your children. But the other thing is, I think there are people maybe who, like I'm hearing about people who have PTSD, and there are people who are saying some of these chemicals can help them in a controlled way where they can help them. If that's the case, I don't care. I feel like,
Yeah,
use
I mean,
them.
for a long time, I think conservative Christians pushed against like therapeutic marijuana, like medicinal marijuana. And it just seems like such a weird fight to have. Now, granted, a lot of people saying medicinal wanted recreational.
Well, that's primarily what it was. Yeah.
Right. But the people for whom it really was helpful or is really helpful, compared to the other stuff that you'd get prescribed legally,
yeah, like the
it
kid,
just seems way less
who
harmful.
has persistent epileptic fits and THC can treat that and diminish that. I feel like, that's not the same as smoking a joint. That's a completely different thing than smoking a joint. And I feel like the person who's been in combat maybe and is trying out, what's the one, ketamine, like I honestly think any kid listening, never go anywhere near any of these drugs. It's a terrible idea. Like people die from this stuff. Don't do it. And also, you can do permanent damage to yourself in other ways. You could just undermine your own trust in your own mind. It's not worth it. But if you're, if you served in Iraq or something, and there's in a therapeutic setting, there's a suspicion that ketamine might be helpful, I have a totally different feeling about that.
Yeah, I think not only do you, but it seems like the church does as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would
there's all
seem to
sorts
fit
of
with-
things.
right.
Even, what Chris was talking about, the loss of rationality, is a generally true point. This is one of the reasons why St. Thomas Aquinas describes drunkenness as mortally sinful, as it involves the loss of the use of reason. But the Catechism, if I'm not mistaken, is actually explicit that in certain contexts, even things that cause you to lose rationality can be justified if they are not so for instance, if you're medicated before having a surgery, the loss of consciousness is actually intentional.
It's
And
one of my favorite
normally-
parts of surgery. Like I would hate to
Exactly.
be conscious for this.
So those kind of situations
What?
Are allowed.
There's a
whereas
kind
normally
of loss of rationality that is a product of the conjugal act, and that's to a good end.
now you're just bragging.
We were all waiting. Who's going to come up with the capper for that one? And it was Joe. Joe, you win the show. I blew it. We never got to recommend something.
You lose your. Okay, 2 things. Cy Kellett's lecture from the Chesterton Conference on Walker Percy.
Is it available somewhere?
Send an email to radiocatholic.com. And we'll send it to you. I'll
that's
find
so
the
nice
link.
of you to say.
I have
'cause I had
another.
so much fun
I have
doing
another
that.
one because we were talking
Right.
about the heist.
Oh yeah.
Alec Guinness movie from 1951 with Audrey Hepburn, Lavender Hill Mob.
Lavender Hill Mob. Okay. All right. The Crimson and the Black.
Yes. Nice.
The book or the
movie? I've never seen it. I'm just recommending it. 'cause
Scarlet and the Black is the
Scarlet
is
and the Black.
the
Oh, yeah.
Stendhal
The
movie.
Scarlet and the Black. Yeah.
Book.
Augustine's De Proba on prayer.
Augustine on prayer. How long of a book is that, Joe?
It's a letter.
Oh, it's a
And
letter.
He explains
I know the
why
one.
we pray.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, why do we pray if God already knows what we want?
Benedict
And-
quoted that in one of his encyclicals.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I
It's
think-
short. It's sometimes listed as letter 130. So.
Okay, what Joe is recommending is that you read letter 130 of St. Augustine, And you can find that. If you type that into your machine will bring it to you. You probably recommend some books, but you probably also can read it on the screen. Chris, your second recommendation was what movie again?
Lavender Hill Mob.
Lavender Hill Mob.
It's hilarious.
Check out the Lavender Hill Mob. My recommendation is join us tomorrow when we do this again. Right here. What? That was good. That was a segue. Those things are precious, man. That's going on my reel when I'm looking for a new job.
reel.
When you fire me,
My
that's going
reel.
on my reel right there. See you tomorrow, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.